कृपालु गुरवे नमः। नटवर वपीं चमाला रंध्रा धर सुधर रुदा ग्रहणे भविष्यति यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वम् यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तग्वंह देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशम् मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। We'll chant Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai. Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai.
Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai.
Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai.
Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai.
Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai.
Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai.
Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai.
Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai.
Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai.
Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jai Jai.
Govinda Jai Jai, गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय।
सब लोग तालियां बजाइए।
जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
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 गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
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 गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय।
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय
गोविंद जय जय
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय
श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की
जय
वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की spiritually inclined souls. Glorifying the importance of human life. In the Radha Govind Geet, Shri Maharaj Ji has revealed Hari ki कृपा ते कभू गोविंद राधे नर तनु मिले वायु ही ना गमा दे. God, who selflessly loves the souls, rarely bestows this precious human life that we all have. Do not let it go to waste in pursuit of worldly gratifications. This life is worth much more than we imagine it to be. Further, Sri Maharaj Ji inspires us in the Radha Govind Geet. Ati durlabh tino Govind Radhe nar tanu shraddha guru sharan bata de. Receiving a human body is great. It's with great fortune that one receives a human body. But to receive such a human birth in which we not only possess a body, but also have a thirst, an inclination toward God. We have that love, desire for God. And not only that, be blessed with the association of a God-realized personality. Have guidance in our life. So such a birth is the highest birth there can be. Nara Tanu Shraddha Guru Sharana. The three most very rarely attainable gifts that one can receive in a given lifetime. And each and every one of us here is blessed with that gift. Whether we realize it or not, whether we appreciate it or not, the fact is that we all are blessed beyond words. So, now we have this great opportunity at our disposal. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to utilize this opportunity to elevate ourselves spiritually? So, our scriptures tell us that we should control our mind and our senses with the intellect. Because our mind is always drifting, it's always wandering into the world in search of happiness, bliss, pleasure. So, control the mind and the senses with the intellect. So let us understand the science of this mind and intellect that we always hear about. How does the mind work? What does it do? What does the intellect do? What is their specific role? We hear the word antahakaran. Every morning we speak this word in the Dainik Prarthana, in the beginning prayer. Antahakaran itna malin ho chuka hai. Antahakaran. So the internal machinery consisting of the mind, the intellect, and the sanskars. Sanskars are subtle impressions on the mind due to activities of our past life. Collectively, these are known as the antahakaran. Antaha means internal, and karan means that which works. So the internal machinery is known as the antahakaran. And according to the Gita, this antahakaran has two partitions. One is known as the mind, and the other is the intellect. And the combination of these is known as the antahakaran. So how does this system work? What does the mind do? So the mind initially grasps the objects of the sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch. It does so with the help of the senses. However, without the involvement of the mind, the senses are practically useless. They cannot do anything without the mind. So when our mind is preoccupied, we don't hear, see, or smell anything. If during a discourse or a kirtan session we doze off, and we know that feeling, some of us. So if we doze off, then what will happen? We will not hear anything, even though words will be entering our ears. We will not understand anything because we're sleeping. Our mind is sleeping. So it is the mind that grasps the objects of the senses, but with the help of the senses. Next, the mind begins the thinking process. So it generates options regarding the object that it perceives. Is this a man or a woman? Should I look upon this person with love, with hate, or with indifference? Will my self-interest be helped or harmed? So at this point, the mind stops its work and relays the information to the intellect. Now, the intellect, being the discriminating mind, passes the judgment. So the intellect, the buddhi, passes the judgment. This person is no one to you. Move on. So you pass that person by. In the same way, when you are in the market, you come across so many people. But the intellect keeps saying, this one is no one to you, move on. This person you don't know, move on. So you keep moving on. But the moment you spot someone familiar to you, someone that you know, a dear one, you immediately stop and you acknowledge them, you greet them, you say, hi, hello, how are you? When did you come to Austin? Great to see you. Now, this joyful reaction takes place because the intellect, the discriminating mind, is telling the mind, the desiring mind, this person is dear to you. This person is respectable. So acknowledge them and talk to them in this way. So the mind, in turn, instructs the senses. This is how it works. But until then, you passed so many people and you didn't care less about talking to them. You kept passing them. So the mind works twice, or the work of the mind happens twice. First, it grasps the objects of the senses, analyzes it, and relays that information to the intellect. And then it receives the instructions from the intellect, and then the mind in turn tells the senses, behave in this way. This is what you do. So this is how the mind and the intellect work in conjunction with each other. Now, what is the practical implication of this? Now, when someone who is wise sees the objects of the senses, a person with knowledge, with wisdom, sees the objects of the senses, now his mind also relays the information to the intellect. But the intellect, being firm in the knowledge received by the guru, what does the intellect say? This is not mine. This object is not mine. It cannot give me the fulfillment that I seek. It cannot make me happy. No. It cannot make me happy. So the intellect instructs the mind not to direct the senses there. And the mind does not object, nor do the senses. Why? Because they are mere servants of the intellect. They are governed by the intellect. Why would they object? Because their duty is to simply follow the instructions of the intellect. For example, if you instruct a horse to follow a certain path, it will do so. The driver of a car turns the wheels of the car onto a certain road, they do not object. They simply follow the instructions of the driver, regardless of the direction. It doesn't matter. So in the same way, the mind and the senses, they do not object. They follow the instructions of the intellect. So the point here is that everything depends on the intellect. The decision lies or depends on the intellect itself, which is the discriminating mind. Yesterday, when I shared that analogy, I talked about the intellect being the charioteer, the driver. So everything, every decision depends on the intellect. That is what happens. So that is why we require the discrimination, the power of discrimination. Without discrimination, our common sense of infinite lifetimes, what will it do? It will tell us that the world is ours and that we should always run after the world. That is what it will do. So God has, to us as humans, has bestowed this gift of knowledge. Bharatri Hari says, Ahar nidra bhayamai thunancha samanya me tat pashubhir naranam gyano hitesha madhiko vishesho gyane nahina pashubhi samana. There are 4 attributes that birds and animals possess, so do we as humans. Ahar nidra bhay methun. Ahar, we eat, they eat. Nidra, we sleep, they sleep. We fear, so do they. They procreate, and so do humans. 4 attributes are the same. And yet, there is one that sets us apart. And that is this very gift of knowledge that we have, this discrimination that we have. And that is why every human possesses an intrinsic capacity to distinguish right against wrong. We have that power. We have been blessed with this. But if we don't utilize it to uplift ourselves or to elevate ourselves, rather, if we don't utilize it to our advantage, then inevitably we will abuse it. And if we abuse it, then we're no better than an animal. The scriptures likened us in the absence of that knowledge or that gift. If we neglect it, ignore it, then that is where we end up, in that category. So, what puts us above animals is this gift of knowledge. So we have to utilize it. So what do? Use the power of the intellect to comprehend divine knowledge. Because it is the intellect that is actually messed up. So we need to nourish the intellect with knowledge. Knowledge. And what is that knowledge? In a nutshell, that knowledge is that the soul is related only to the Supreme Soul. All the relationships of the soul are with the Supreme Soul, otherwise known as God. Dhata, Mata, Pita, Maha. The Vedas tell us that all of the relationships of the soul are with God alone. With God alone. Shri Krishna is mine and I am his. This is knowledge. And as regards the world has been created by the cosmic energy Maya, and so is his body. So the world is for this body, but for the soul, it is only God, God alone. So our true identity being the soul, we belong to God. So He is ours and we are His. This knowledge. So knowledge leads to acceptance, and acceptance leads to love. Let us suppose there is a servant in a house working. He is approached by a beggar who offers to give him a touchstone in exchange for some food. Now, this servant has never seen a touchstone, nor does he know what it can do, but he has heard that it is something very valuable. So he thought, I will give him food, he will give me the touchstone, and I will give it to my master, and my job will be secure. So he feeds him, the beggar, and in return, he leaves that stone with him, gives it to him. In the evening, when the master returned home, and he saw that stone sitting on the table, so he inquired about it. And so the servant said, Sir, it's a touchstone. A beggar gave it to me in exchange for some food. So the master said, You're so foolish, aren't you? Use your brain. If he had a touchstone in his possession, would he ever come to beg for food? So he threw the stone away, and it so happened that it hit an iron ledge, and that ledge turned to gold. The man cannot believe his eyes. He touched it to a second one, it turned to gold. He touched it to a third one, same thing happened. Same thing happened. He was ecstatic, and he thought, I don't have to go to work anymore. I can have as much gold as I possibly want. So you see, as long as the man thought of the stone to be ordinary, he had no love for it. But as soon as he realized, he knew that this is a touchstone, he accepted it to be a touchstone, and he put it away safely in a locker. He was ecstatic. He became immediately attached to it. So knowledge leads to acceptance, and that in turn leads to love. One sees this happening everywhere in the world. A girl is walking down the street. A boy comes along and places his hand on her shoulder. So this girl shoots him an angry look and reaches for her shoe. And this boy, he runs away and stands at a distance. So the friend of the girl, she said, Hey, what are you doing? Your parents are going to have you be married to this boy. He's going to be your husband on the 15th of this month. Now the girl's reaction, really? Is that true? He's my husband? Really? So now this girl is all excited, and now she's trying to steal glances and look at this boy, trying to look at him. Stealing glances, looking at him. Now, what was wrong with the boy before that she was getting ready to smack him? Now, what is so great about him now that she is so lovingly looking at him? What's the difference? What happened? What a transformation. Yes, why? What happened? Because she has accepted him to be hers. Wherever there's fulfillment of selfishness, there is love. जाते कछु निज स्वार्थ हुई, ता पर ममता करे सब कोई. It is a law of nature that all attachments are based on fulfillment of self-interest. On fulfillment of self-interest. Once we realize that our self-interest lies with God alone, we will not need to practice loving Him. We will not need to make any effort to practice devotion to God. No, not at all. We will immediately fall in love with Him, instantaneously, without any delay. We will fall in love with God. Then what is causing the delay in falling in love with Him? What is causing the delay? Because we have accepted the world to be ours for so long that it is difficult for us to erase that feeling. To erase that feeling that the world is not ours, it is not a source of happiness, because we have practiced loving the world for so long. We even try to think and accept Shyam Sundar as ours, but our deceptive, polluted mind sways us. And we're swayed by our mind, who tells us that the world is ours and that we should not renounce it at any cost. No, do not renounce the world. Do not let go of the world. Yes, Sri Krishna is mine, but I'm not going to renounce the world. Do not renounce the world. This is what the mind says to us. When people develop a serious disease of smoking cigarettes, of drinking coffee, chai, or any other habit for that matter, any other habit, then what happens? What happens? We become a slave of that object, that lifeless object, that insentient object. People find it difficult to sit through even an hour-long lecture. They're anxiously waiting to go out and smoke. Or have a cup of coffee or whatever. They feel restless. They feel restless. So this insentient object of this world, it makes us a slave. Our mind becomes a slave to these things, to these objects. Sri Maharaji tells us that if we had loved Sri Krishna, then we would have tasted that divine bliss. Because the nectar of Sri Krishna is far, far greater than the nectar of countless cigarettes. Countless cigarettes or any other thing in this world. If we had loved Him. But because the reality is that we're so deeply attached to the world that we have to make great efforts to divert our mind from the world to devotion. But as regards diverting our mind, Sri Maharaji puts it very simply. He gives this analogy that suppose you're driving a car and being unsure of the direction of your destination, you are led astray. So what to do? You were supposed to go eastwards and you were driving the car westward. So obviously, you would stop and get directions, the correct directions, make a U-turn to be on the right track. Similarly, in the journey of life, when we feel devoid or bereft of that joy, peace, happiness, contentment, satisfaction, then what do? We seek the guidance of the God-realized personalities who have tasted that nectar of God's love. And they will guide us and put us on the right track. But in our case, that has already been done. Maharaji has already done that for us. He has done the hard work. He has done the hard work. He has brought the knowledge to us in a simple, easy to understand form, the way that we can comprehend it at our level. He has revealed it to us. All the secrets of devotion and all of the devotional materials that we need to divert our mind. He has already done all of that for us. So what are we to do? We simply have to enjoy or reap the fruits of Sri Maharaji's hard, tireless work. That is what we have to do. We have to do that only. Enjoy or relish the sweetness of Radha Krishna bliss that Sri Maharaji has abundantly showered upon us. So to divert our mind, Sri Maharaji tells us, what do we have to do? Sadhana. We have to practice devotion. And what is devotion? Devotion essentially means remembrance. Remembrance, that's all. Sochna hi sadhana hai, Govind Radhe, बार बार सोचना ही उनते मिला दे, हरि गुरु ही है मेरे, गोविंद राधे, यही नीत सोचना उपासना बता दे. सोचना ही साधना है, गोविंद राधे. To remember them is devotion, because remembrance is done with the mind. When we remember, even in the world, we engage our mind. However, in the world, we remember in two ways, with two feelings, love and hate. But when we love, we engage our mind. When we hate, we associate our mind with that person that we dislike or we hate. It's the mind that remembers. So when we remember Radha Krishna with the same mind, the same heart, that is essentially sadhana. And when we remember them again and again and again, then that remembrance will unite us with Radha Krishna. Hari Guru hi hai mere. God and Guru alone are mine. They are mine. Ehi nita sochna upasana batade. This is devotion. Sadhana, upasana, sharanagati, prapatti, aradhana. These are all synonymous with bhakti or devotion. So this is what we have to do. But remembrance, yes. How do we engage our mind? Engage our mind in remembrance. So Sri Maharaji has given us a reservoir or a treasury of the divine names and the virtues of and the leelas of Sri Radha Krishna. He has revealed hundreds and hundreds of chantings for us to engage our mind in remembrance. Kirtan Bhakti. But Kirtan Bhakti is twofold according to the philosophy revealed by Maharaji. Kirtan Bhakti is not about just vocally, mechanically chanting the divine name and the virtues and the leelas of Radha Krishna. That is not Kirtan Bhakti. Kirtan Bhakti means to chant out loud the divine names of Radha Krishna, but internally we engage our mind in the loving remembrance of their leelas, of their form, of their personality. That is Kirtan Bhakti. So, another way of saying this, or another way of describing what Kirtan Bhakti is, in layman's terms, if you will, is spending time with them. Spending time with Radha Krishna and our Guru. You see, in the world, a girl and a boy, they see each other. They may be attracted to one another, drawn to one another. Yes. So there is liking toward one another. They like each other. And then what happens? A relationship is developed, and on that basis, they spend time together, association. So they spend time together, and during the course of that time that they spend together, what are they doing? They're thinking about each other's virtues, remembering, obsessing, that infatuation that manifests. How does that happen? It happens on the basis of the time that they spend together. They think about each other constantly. So then that love toward one another, it evolves. And then living together for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, then that love, it grows. That attachment toward one another grows, even though that attachment could also become deep animosity toward each other. That also happens in the world. But just to get my point across, the point is that spending that time together is how that love grows toward one another, even in the world. So when we're doing sadhana, in other words, when we're remembering Sri Radha Krishna, on the basis of the chantings that Sri Maharaji has revealed for us, what are we doing? We are spending time with Sri Radha Krishna, remembering them, their virtues, their leelas, their pastimes, their personality, their form. That is what we are doing. So the more time we spend, the more our love will grow. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. So what are we to do when we spend time with them? We talk to them. Talk to Radha Krishna. Some of you may say, well, they're not visible, so what do you mean by talking to them? Because in the world, we see people. They're in front of us and then we talk to them. Yes. In devotion, we have to qualify ourselves to receive their vision. So until we receive their vision, we talk to them, we spend time with them internally in our heart. But because they reside in our heart, they know each and every thought of our heart. They know we're calling out to them. They know we're yearning for them and longing for them. And that yearning and longing, it translates into grace. Grace that we feel in our heart, in our mind. We feel that affinity toward them, that affection toward them. It's the very basis of our relationship with them, where we begin to feel that they are ours. And that all happens with their grace, when we simply yearn for them. So when we're doing our sadhana on the basis of these kirtans that Sri Maharaji has revealed for us, and we remember them, talk to them. Oh, Sri Radha Krishna, what have you thought about me? Me. What have you thought about me? When do you think you are going to give your darshan to me? When will you give your darshan to me? Yes, when? Infinite lifetimes have passed, and I'm still wandering in this world like a hungry dog, going from person to person, door to door, asking and taking refuge in everyone. Please, 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 begging every day. But now I'm begging from you, begging for your love, begging for your grace, begging for your mercy. When will you bestow it upon me? When will that time come when you will give me your darshan? Make me your own forever. I'm desiring your eternal servitude. When will that time come? Mere ek tu hi tere, mere ek tu hi tere, Govind Radhe. Mere ek tu hi tere, Govind Radhe. Jan hai anant mohi jani bisra de. Mere ek tu hi tere. You have uncountable devotees, but you alone are mine. You alone are mine. Please do not forget this soul. Do not forget me, because I am yours. Oh, Shri Krishna. So, talking to them in this way. But when we talk to them, talk with a yearning, longing, loving heart, a heart filled with humility. Humility. In Hindi, there's a word, krandan. Krandan karna. Navjat Shishu Sam Govind Radhe. Bhola bani rona to hi hari te mila de. So, this doha of Maharaji, Navjat Shishu Sam Govinda Radhe, just like a newborn child, when the child cries for its mother, Navajat Shishu Sam. So, Krandan Karna. Krandan means to deeply yearn, to deeply long for them, for their divine vision. And this feeling of our heart is precisely what enslaves them. That is what enslaves their heart, Radha Krishna. And this yearning is the medicine. It is the medicine. This yearning is the cure. That is what pure, no equivalent word for dard utpan karna. So when we sit in sadhana, and anyway, that is Maharaji. This is the very core. Srimad. So talking to and yearning for their vision with a heart, with a humble heart, and not expecting anything in return from them except their love and their mercy. That is all. Nothing material, no material things we should desire ever for them. No. Because when we don't desire anything, we get everything. That is the beauty of this path. You don't have to ask for anything, and you will get everything. But when we do ask for their love, that also should be with the motivation to serve them, to please them, to make them happy. That is what sadhana really is. So in this way, our love, our desire, our devotion will keep growing, and we will be able to change the direction of our running. Right now we're running full speed toward the world. The world turn and run toward them. Change the running, the direction of our running. So if we reverse our course, we will see that Sri Krishna is standing right behind us. Standing right behind us. So in this way, when we will do our sadhana, when we will do our devotion, then our heart will become purified. And when our heart will become totally and completely purified, then with the grace of our Guru, we will receive that final grace in the form of their divine vision. And only then this human life will be gratified. Then. So we have a golden chance to uplift ourselves and to impart this knowledge, to inspire, to help us grow in our sadhana. We have these camps that are designed to motivate us and to propel us on the path of devotion and bhakti. So with these words, I conclude my lecture. The new year is coming, and it's such joy to see all of you here at Radha Madhav Dham. And I just want to wish everyone a very happy, devotional new year. And please take Sri Maharaji's grace and his blessings back with you to your homes. Cultivate them, cultivate the knowledge that you receive over here, and apply it, live it, so that you will want to keep coming back to Radha Madhav Dham to grow that sadhana more and more. So with these words, I conclude my pravachan. श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की, श्रीमद् युगल सरकार की जय जय श्री राम, जय जय श्री राम, जय जय श्री राम।